Hello everyone, this is part 13 of What If Naruto Was Banished and Becomes Raikage, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to see more comment down below. Saw Naruto like this, she could not help but smirk and shake her head knowing what was going to happen next. Ryoku is a dead man now, as he gone and done it, stated Yugito. No Kinden, motherfucker in the shitter house, he don't even known it, said Killer B. I guessing that insulting Naruto's mom in front of him is not something someone who values living should do, said Shikamaru. No it isn't, unless of course you have a death wish, as it's an unspoken law in New Kumo, where no one is to ever insult Naruto-kun's mother, because if you do you end up like the last guy who did, replied Yugito. And who was that? Asked Joji. Hidden of the Akatsuki, replied Yugito with a frown as she remembered one of the men that nearly killed her a few years back. When Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, Kurenai and Konohamaru heard this, they all narrowed their eyes angrily at the man that had killed Asuma. And what exactly did Naruto do to him? Asked Shikamaru, where a small part of him was hoping that the man suffered after killing his sensei. I won't go into details, but to put it simply, Naruto vaporized the bastard and destroyed an entire valley and everything else in a 1-mile radius, answered Yugito, as she had been there to see the battle. Damn, stated Kiba, while making a mental note never to say anything bad about Naruto's mother in front of him and to never piss him off. Shikamaru just nodded, satisfied with what happened, and even planned to thank Naruto later for killing Hiden. And I'm guessing the reason that Naruto hates his father so much is because he was the one to turn Naruto in a Jinchuriki and he blames him for his harsh life in the village, spoke Jiraiya with a slight frown, where Yugito just nodded confirming it. Gaara of course nodded in understanding to Naruto, in his dislike of his father, as he too hated his father for what he did to him and how he tried to have him killed on several occasions, not to mention the fact that he blamed his father for his mother's death. As he had ordered Chiyo to seal Shukaku into Gaara, when he was still in his mother's womb and did so against her wishes. Where when she gave birth him, her life energy was used to power the sealing process, where she died after giving birth to him. Although Gaara had forgiven Chiyo for her part in it, as his father had ordered her to do it, where if she had refused someone else would have done it. Which was why Gaara could never forgive his father, for not only for his harsh life and attempts to kill him, but for also being the main reason why his mother died. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others not wasting any more time, Naruto launched a powerful lightning attack at the trio of cages, causing them to scattered. Naruto then used his Raipo lightning step to disappear and reappear next to Ryoku, where his hand was once again covered in lightning and he cried out, "Raikiri," and slammed his hand into Ryoku's face. But upon doing this, Ryoku dissolved into mud, revealing him to be Tsuchi Bunch, an Earth clone. When Naruto realized this, he saw Ryoku a distance away from him and doing some hand seals and cry out, "Doten, Doru Tape, Earth style," devouring Earth, where the ground from underneath Naruto lifted up, forming enormous jaws, where they tried to swallow and crush the Naruto between them. Reacting quickly, Naruto brought up both his arms and did a circular motion with them, where lightning started to emanate from his two front fingers tip on both his hands and then pointed them both at the two closing earth jaws on either side of him. Upon which he then shouted out, "Niju Byakurai, double white lightning." Where two powerful bolts of white lighting erupted from Naruto's two front fingertips and destroyed the closing earth jaws. After destroying the earth jaws and landing back on the ground, Naruto then did another circular motion with his arms, where he then cried out, "Byakurai, white lightning," and fired a single bolt of white lightning at Ryoku, who quickly used a Doryuheiki Earth-style wall to create a large wall of earth to protect himself from Naruto's attack. Unfortunately, Naruto's Byakurai was too powerful, where it destroyed the earth wall completely and blasted Ryoku into a ruined building. After blasting Ryoku away, Orochimaru then appeared behind Naruto with Kusanagi in his hand, as he had used his slithering snake mode to sneak up on Naruto at high speed, before he could sense him, where he then stabbed Naruto in the heart from the back with Kusanagi. But a few seconds later, Naruto faded away, revealing he was an after image. As soon as Orochimaru realized this, he saw Naruto appear out of the corner of his left eye, where the then used his Fusho and slammed the compressed wind in the palm of his hands into Orochimaru's left side, violently pushing Orochimaru away. After being pushed about 60 feet away from Naruto, Orochimaru regained himself by landing on the ground on all fours, where he then used his Mandara no Jin myriad snake net formation to release a torrent of countless snakes from his mouth. That formed a gigantic wall of snakes that rose up and rushed towards Naruto. As the snakes got closer to Naruto, they then opened their mouths to extend Kusanagi-like blades. As the wall of swords and snakes came closer to him, Naruto did 3 quick hand seals and brought his 2 front fingers to his lips and cried out, Kyoten, Reikiko ice release, icy breath S, after which Naruto blew out a large stream of freezing wind from his mouth, freezing the gigantic wall of snakes and turning it into a solid wall of ice. Once the wall of snakes had been frozen, Naruto then did a few more hand seals and cried out, Futon, Atsugai wind style, pressure damage, where he compressed an tornado-like mass between his hands and held it until its density had reached its highest point, where he then released into a massive sweeping blast of wind that completely shattered the frozen snake wall into pieces and swept Orochimaru off his feet and to the other end of the clear flat area. With Orochimaru dealt with for the moment, Naruto quickly started to search for where Shiro was. Naruto did not have to search long, as Shiro slammed his fist into the ground and a massive gush of water, whereas he cried out, Suten, Bakusui Shoha, water style, exploding water colliding wave. He quickly jumped onto the advancing surge of water and rode on it, while at the same time he created another Mizu no Ken, where as the giant surge of water headed for Naruto, he cried out, time for you to die, you bloodline freak. Naruto of course did not look the least bit worried, where he then quickly took out his wind blade handle and channeled his wind chakra into it to create the blade of wind, after which as the water surge was about to crash on top of him, Naruto spoke in a calm, clear voice and simply said, Daikaitsuzen, great earth cutting slash T, after which he swung his vertical upward slash, cutting the water attack in 2 and causing it to fall apart and collapsed on itself. Impossible, he broke my Bakusui Shoha with just a slash on his sword, thought Shiro as he held his now badly bleeding arm, which had been cut by Naruto's attack, which he narrowly avoided, by sheer luck. After which he quickly shunshed away to a safe spot to dress his wounded arm. As he did, the water he created began to flow into the crater that Naruto had created earlier from powering up and began to fill it up. As the water flowed into the crater, it revealed the large slash mark that Naruto's Daikaitsuzen created, which stretched up to 100 meters in length, and had severed many buildings and houses outside the cleared area in half. With the observing group, incredible, he was able to completely sever that giant wave of water with that single slash and yet still do all that damage at the same time, stated amazed Temari, as it was obvious to her that Naruto's wind ninjutsu skill was on a whole other level from hers. If we win this fight and he survives it, maybe I can ask him to give me a few tips and pointers, thought Temari at the same time. At the rate things are going right now, if Naruto wins this battle there won't be much of village left, commented Kakashi, as he saw the destruction Naruto's last attack had done. Better the village be destroyed than its people, as buildings and homes can always be rebuilt, but lives cannot, and as long as your village's people and shinobis continuing living, then your village will still have a future and can be rebuilt, commented Zhuge Liang, where both Jiraiya and Tsunade nodded in agreement at Zhuge Liang's wise words. But upon Zhuge Liang saying this, a loud voice was suddenly heard shout out, Kuchiyose no Jutsu, summoning technique, where a massive puff of smoke appeared from the ruined building Ryoku was sent flying to by Naruto not long ago. Once the smoke cleared, the group saw Ryoku standing on the head of a giant bear summons, with a decorated spiked sling around its chest, a large hammer in its right paw and a short shield on its left arm, along with armbands and a belt with an animal skull buckle at the front of it. 6. With Naruto and Ryoku, TSK, Iwa really does have the most stubborn hard-head shinobis in the world, commented Naruto, as he saw Ryoku and his giant bear summons appear and let out a ferocious roar. Insert Bleach, invasion. As the bear summons came closer to him, Naruto did not move in the slightest and allowed the creature to come up to him as close as possible. When the giant bear summons was right in front of him, he could hear Ryoku speaking to his summons. Onokuma, there is the one, he is the reason why I have summoned you, I need your strength to help me defeat him. He is the reason, roared out the bear boss named Onokuma, you have become weak, since you've last summoned me Ryoku, if you can't defeat a worthless worm like that, spoke Onokuma, as he looked down at Naruto. Don't underestimate that boy Onokuma, he is more powerful than he looks, as he is the offspring of Konoha no Shinku Akari and Konoha no Kiroi Senko, warned Ryoku. Even so, he will die like the worthless worm he is, roared Onokuma, where he rose his left front paw and thrust it down on Naruto, intending to crushing him beneath his paw like a bug. Seeing the paw come at him, Naruto didn't bother to even try and avoid it. Instead, he quickly brought both his hands up and blocked Onokuma's paw, where as soon as he did, he was forced back a bit by the Onokuma's paw, where he tore up the ground a bit as he was pushed back by Onokuma's paw. But after being pushed back a few feet, Naruto was able to then hold his ground and halt Onokuma's paw. After which Naruto then smirked, "Now it's my turn," after which he then grabbed a tight hold of Onokuma's paw, and then charged up his Raiten no Yoroi once again, but this time it was much larger and much stronger than before. With the observing group, "He isn't going to do what I think he's going to do?" asked Jiraiya openly as he watched Naruto power up a much larger form of his Raiten no Yoroi. "He is," answered Tsunade, with surprise. "He can't. Even with the Raiten no Yoroi enhancing his strength, there's no way it could make him strong enough to throw it," stated Kakashi in disbelief. "You think you people would have learned by now, when it comes to the Raikage, very little is impossible for him," spoke Fu, with a smirk. Upon Fu saying this, Naruto's chakra suddenly skyrocketed, where a giant thick layer of lightning chakra surrounded Naruto. Where he then let out a large roar as he then flipped the giant bear summons into the air and over him and threw him to the other end of the cleared area, 50 meters from where Naruto was. When Naruto did this, Ryoku fell off Onokuma's head, while Onokuma himself fell down and crushed a large number of empty buildings and houses that he had landed on, after which Naruto then deactivated his Raiten no Yoroi. After Naruto had thrown Onokuma to the other end of the cleared area, jaws literally dropped from all those watching the battle, which included not only the observing group, but also many shinobis from Suna, Konoha, the Tsuchigamo clan and New Kumo, who had been nearby the area and decided to watch the battle. Many of the Konoha shinobis could not believe what they had seen, as the Raikage had shown a level of strength and power that they thought only their Hokage or Sakura were capable of. TTTH, that was unreal, he actually threw that massive summons by himself, stated one Konoha nin. "He's incredible," said Asuna nin. "That our Raikage," spoke a new Kumo nin with pride. With Naruto not long after throwing Onokuma, the large bear boss got back on his feet and roared out in fury and glared at the smirking Naruto, who now appeared below him. "You worm, you insignificant little worm, how dare you, do you not know who I am? I am Onokuma, leader of the Bear Clan, and I will not be defeated by the likes of you," roared the enraged bear summons. Naruto did not reply to this and drew Tengu out once again from his back. "Do you honestly think that little needle that you call a katana can hurt me?" said Onokuma. "Then come at me and find out for yourself," said Naruto seriously as he prepared himself, while Tengu blade was surrounded by lightning and screeching out a little, inditing that it was angry at Onokuma call it a little needle. "Die, you worm," cried Onokuma, as he raised his hammer up into the air and slammed it down onto of Naruto. Quickly Naruto raised Tengu above his head and used it to block Onokuma's hammer, while at the same time wrapping himself in a thick layer of chakra and hardening it to protect his body from being crushed of the force of Onokuma's attack. Although when he blocked Onokuma's attack, a large shock erupted from Naruto and a large crater was formed in the ground around him, all from the force of Bear Boss's attack. But even still Naruto held his ground and withstood Onokuma's attack along with Tengu, without any harm to either of them. After withstanding Onokuma's attack, Naruto decided it was time to go on the offensive, where he cried out once again, "Cry out into the soaring heavens, Tengu." After which Tengu started to release a massive burst of lightning chakra and energy, while once again letting out yet another loud screeching cry. At the same time Naruto also let out another large burst of lightning chakra, where he then combined it with Tengu's, where together their two massive bursts of lightning chakras created a giant pillar of lightning chakra that shot up into the sky and shattered Onokuma's metal hammer and blasted him back a bit from Naruto. Impossible, how can such incredible power come from a mere human, thought Onokuma in disbelief at his hammer being destroyed, and as he blocked the force of the shockwave from Naruto's and Tengu's lightning chakra release with his arm shield, but was still being pushed back a bit by it. "Now then Onokuma, you are about to pay the price for insulting Tengu and see firsthand its true power," stated Naruto. As he then pressed his two front fingers on the flat side of Tengu's blade and ran it along, as he did the blade began to shine bright white, which was almost blinding. Naruto then held Tengu over his head in a Jodan stance, whereas he was in the stance the lightning chakra that was released together by Naruto and Tengu started to recede. It then formed around Naruto in the shape of a giant bird spreading out with its wings and crying out with its ear-splitting screech once again. After a second or two the large screeching cry from Tengu ended, where Naruto then swung his sword in a diagonal slash and roared out, Futsunushi, Japanese deity of swords and lightning. When he let loose his attack, a massive blade of lightning chakra erupted from Tengu's blade and traveled at astonishing speed. As the blade of lightning chakra headed towards Onokuma, the attack took on the form of a soaring bird, and flew straight at Onokuma, while letting loose once again another fierce cry. Seeing the attack coming at him, Onokuma quickly brought his arm shield up to protect him from the attack, while at the same time trying to avoid, but the attack was coming in too quickly for him to fully avoid. The attack hit his shield and broke through it, completely shattering it into pieces, where it continued on and made a deep diagonal slash on Onokuma's chest, although he was still able to move out of the way, just enough to avoid being cut in half. The attack then continued on right past Onokuma, and made a deep long large slashing mark deep into the ground, as it continued on like with Naruto's Daikaitsuzen, but unlike that attack it did not dissipated after going a certain length. Instead it kept going and cut right through the Konoha western wall and cut right through it, as well as cut through a great deal of the forestry outside the village. Where it then made a diagonal cut on the western side of the Hokage monument, which was outside the village wall, and went right through it to the other end before it dissipated. After which the part of the Hokage monument that had been cut diagonally, slid down onto the forestry below, where it inadvertently cut off the escape route of the now retreating Kusa and Hanya clan forces, who upon finding their escape route cut off, surrendered so to avoid being killed by the new Kumo forces and the Konoha defenders who had been perusing them and were surrounding them. GGGRRRAAAAHHHH, roared Onokuma in pain, as he held his bleeding chest, and was beginning to stagger due to his wound on his chest. What is he? Thought Onokuma as he staggered in pain. He's no ordinary human. With the observing group and watching shinobis. Did you see that? Declared Konohamaru in shock and awe. How the hell couldn't we? Cried the astonished Kiba, whose jaw hit the floor. What was the technique? Asked Neji openly to the new Kumo shinobis. It is called Futsunushi, Tengu's most powerful attack, replied Yugito. When using this technique, Tengu can cut an entire mountain in two with a single slash. It's virtually impossible to defend or counteract against. So the legends are true, said Tenten in amazement, where a part of her was literally drooling over the sword, where she could not help but slightly envy Naruto's good fortune at finding one of the strongest weapons in the world, and wondered as well if Naruto would let her look of and even hold it later on. With Naruto as Onokuma was struggling to keep himself standing, he looked down on Naruto, where when he did, he saw that Naruto now held a massive giant version of the Rasengan spiraling sphere in his left hand, while still holding Tengu in his right hand. But what frightened Onokuma most was the dangerous look in Naruto's eyes, as they began to glow bright blue with lightning coming out of them, and for an instant he swore he saw a flash of red, where they didn't look human in that instant. As they had narrowed and turned blood red, almost like a demon's, but as quickly as he saw them, they turned back to blue and emanating lightning again. What the hell are you? Cried Onokuma with fear clear in his voice, as he took a step back in fear of Naruto. That right, I still haven't fully introduced myself to you, spoke Naruto as he looked at Onokuma. I am the Rokudaime Raikage, Uzumaki Naruto, better known as the Raiden no Kami, god of thunder and lightning, and sadly for you, your end, said Naruto as he finished with a deadly tone. He quickly disappeared in a blue flash and reappeared in midair right in front of Onokuma holding the giant ball of Rasengan. No, stay back, cried Onokuma with fear as he tried to return back from whence he was summoned from, but it was too late as Naruto slammed the giant Rasengan in right into his already wounded chest and shouted out. Psycho Rasengan, Supreme Spiraling Ball V. After it hit, Onokuma was pushed back by the force of the attack, destroying many buildings in the process, after which there was a massive explosion that enveloped Onokuma and blasted Naruto back, who quickly did a mid-flip in the air, so that he would land on his feet when he hit the ground. Where he then skidded a bit and watched, as the explosion enveloped Onokuma and destroyed several buildings around him. Before it faded and revealed Onokuma's badly damaged chest and burnt-up body from the attack, where his body fell to the ground crushing several buildings as he did, after which his body puffed back to where he came from as he had been dead before he even hit the ground. End Bleach, invasion with the observing group and other shinobis. Unbelievable, Naruto beat him, said Choji with amazement. And he did it without summon anything to fight it for him, stated Hanabi, clearly impressed with Naruto's power. Incredible, stated Kurenai. I knew you could do it, Naruto-kun, thought Hinata with a smile. Go, Ni-san, you're stoppable, cheered Konohamaru. But what was the technique? It looked like Meicho Odama Rasengan, super great spiraling sphere, but yet he called it differently, asked Jiraiya as he was confused at the fact Naruto was able due to that technique, without any natural energy. It because it is different or at least slightly different from your technique, Jiraiya-san, stated Zhuge as unlike your technique, Naruto does not add natural energy, the Psycho Rasengan is made entirely of his own chakra. This of course surprised many, but they quickly got over it as it made sense, and although in most cases they would have said it was impossible for anyone to have that much chakra in them, let alone be able to control it and form it into a Rasengan of that size. But after witnessing Naruto powering up earlier on, along with what else Naruto had shown in the battle so far, there was very little that they believed was impossible for Naruto to do. As the observing group were discussing this, the other shinobis watching the battle could not help but be in awe at Naruto defeating Onakumo the way he did. But as they did, they then finally got a better look at the Raikage's face, as he turned around looking for something. When they did, the Konoha and Suna shinobis were shocked beyond works when they saw Naruto's face. The Yondaime Hokage, gasped at Konoha Jonin. Kiroi Senko, said Asuna Chunin in surprise. Impossible, the Yondaime is dead, said a Konoha Chunin as he could not believe that the Yondaime Hokage was alive. But look, he right there in front of us, how do you explain it, and it isn't a henge as we would sense it, said Tokubutsu Jonin. I don't know, but there has to be an explanation, as I was there at the Yondaime's funeral, said the Jonin. You're correct, he isn't your Yondaime Hokage, answered a new Kumo Chunin. Then who the hell is he and why does he look like the Yondaime Hokage, asked the Konoha Chunin. He's the Yondaime Hokage's son, Uzumaki Naruto, formerly of your village, and now our Rokudaime Raikage, spoke a new Kumo Jonin. The demon brat. That's impossible, there's no way he's the Yondaime's son, besides that brat been dead for over 9 years now. I refuse to believe that's him, and that spoke the Konoha Jonin as he had lost his brother in the Kyuubi attack and had held a long grudge against Naruto for it. But before he could finish he suddenly stopped, as he was suddenly pushed down onto his knees, where he then felt at blade point at his throat. When he looked down he saw a gold and black gauntlet around his neck with a golden pointed blade tip at his throat where it was already making his neck bleed slightly. When the Jonin looked back at the corner of his eye, he saw that the arm and gauntlet belonged to Suafon, who now had one foot on of his left leg, so to keep him on his knees. Before any of the other Suna or Konoha nins could do anything, they suddenly found themselves surrounded by shocked nins both around them and above them on several building rooftops. Also as well the new Kumo shinobis that had be among them, had now drawn their individual weapons and aimed them at the Konoha and Suna shinobis, preventing them from doing anything, and all of them had serious looks on their faces. Hey guys, there's no need for this, we're all friends here, are alright, said a worried Konoha Jonin as a new Kumo shock nin pointed his lightning-charged katana right at his neck. We are not your friends, Konoha scum, as we're only fighting with you because your enemies have become ours at this moment. We're all well aware of what you have done to the Raikage when he was in your village, and we'll not allow you to insult him, as he is a hero to our village and our country, as well as a hero to many countries in the Heavenly Alliance. He saved our village from the tyrannical rule of the Godaime Raikage and restored it and made it stronger than it has ever been in its history. So we'll not allow anyone to insult him in our presence, for we would all gladly give up our lives for him, as we know he would do the same for any one of us as well, spoke Suafon. Upon hearing this, many of the Konoha and Suna shinobi had to admire Naruto as a leader, for it took a special kind of leader to receive this kind of fierce loyalty out of his subordinates. So I suggest that you watch your tongue, filth. Because if you don't, I will personally pull it out and make you eat it, for I will not allow anyone speak ill of my husband, spoke Suafon, which caused all the non-new Kumo shinobi's eyes to widen in surprise. Do I make myself clear? Said Suafon in a very serious, very dangerous and deadly tone of voice, where she dug her gauntlet blade point a little deeper into the Jonin's neck, while leaking out a very potent killing intent, to make her point clear. Upon feeling Suafon's potent killing intent, the Suna, Konoha shinobi became very nervous, while the Jonin that Suafon had at her mercy was also sweating very nervously, as he could tell that Suafon was deadly serious at what she would do to him, where he gulped, and said, ha hi. After hearing this, Suafon let go of the man and pushed him onto the ground, and gave the man a look of disgust. Let's go, I don't to be around this filth any longer than I have to be, spoke Suafon, where all the shock nins and the new Kumo shinobis all nodded their heads and shunshin away to a new location to watch Naruto battle. Once they had gone, one young Konoha genin, who had survived all the fighting, spoke a single word that was shared by all their damn. Also as well all the Suna and Konoha shinobis made mental note, that they would never speak ill of Naruto in front of any new Kumo shinobi, especially a certain shock commander. With Naruto after defeating Onokuma, Naruto started to look around for where Ryoku had gone, as he knew he had fallen off Onokuma when he flipped him over, and he knew that the man would not give up until either one of them were dead, considering how much he hated the fact that he was the Yondaime Hokage's son. He also kept an eye out for where Orochimaru and Shiro went as well, as he knew that the snake wasn't the type to give up easily, nor would he unless he made Naruto pay for foiling his plans in destroying Konoha. Also Shiro was like Ryoku, who would not give up until either him or Naruto were dead, due to the number of defeats Naruto handed him. As Naruto looked around, he suddenly heard Ryoku's voice cry out from behind him, Doton, Jaware Earth Style, Fisher. When Naruto heard this he quickly turned around, saw Ryoku appear several feet away from him, where he then slammed his fist into the ground, and created a large fissure that threatened to swallow Naruto, who quickly jumped away to avoid it. Seeing this Ryoku jumped after Naruto, where he then engaged Naruto in a fierce taijutsu battle, or several mintyus, where they traded punches and kicks with one another. Soon after though the two of them broke apart from one another and jumped away to have some distance from each other, so to take a short break and regain themselves. Ryoku had several bruises and cuts on his body, from the entire battle he had from fighting Naruto, as well as a few from his short fight with Jiraiya. As Ryoku glared at Naruto he spat out some blood in his mouth from the hit he had got from a punch to the jaw from Naruto. Other than his coat, pants and shirt being torn up a bit, and Naruto was perfectly fine, as any cuts, bruises that he had from his battle with Orochimaru, Ryoku and the others were healed thanks to his Shinju Kokai body renewal limit. As he saw Ryoku glare at him angrily, he could not help smirk, which just seemed to anger the man further. Not too bad Ryoku, although I have to say I was beginning to think that you were going to run off after I defeated your summons Onokuma. As if I would run away like a coward from the likes from you, only one of us will leave here alive, and although I may not have the satisfaction of seeing Konoha destroy, I will have your head as conciliation, spoke Ryoku. At this Naruto could only scoff, your pathetic Ryoku, all you can do is think about is getting back at Namikaze for beating you, even this invasion is just a way of getting back at him, and you're even holding me responsible for what he did to you, all because you know that you're too weak to beat him yourself. You could have let this petty little grudge of yours go long ago and become a good Kage to your people and help your village recover from the war. But instead you became a cold, cruel, heartless tyrant, as you couldn't let go of the fact that you were beaten by someone who was clearly stronger than you. You focused all your village's resources on enlarging your military, yet you never tried to help the rest of your people, where they suffered for it and many of them lost loved ones, all because you're nothing more than a petty arrogant man who can't live with the fact that there's someone better than him. You will never beat me Ryoku, and that is because you can't let go of the past, and when someone can't let go of the past they have no future, said Naruto. Upon hearing this Ryoku saw red and roared in rage, where he then did a series of long hand seals and the roared out, Doton, Mega Iwaryu Earth Style, Mega Rock Dragon. Upon doing this a massive mound of earth erupted from the ground between them, where Naruto, quickly shunshin away to gain more distance, and reappeared further back. Upon which he saw the massive mound of earth form into a massive 100-meter high dragon, after which it opened its mouth wide and charged straight at Naruto. DDDDIIIIIEEE. And join your parents in oblivion, roared Ryoku as he sent his dragon forward. Seeing this monstrous earth dragon heading directly towards him, Naruto knew what he had to do, as he was going to destroy the earth dragon and finish his fight with Ryoku once and for all with one jutsu. Quickly Naruto started to gather chakra into his hand and formed a Rasengan spiraling sphere in his right hand, but upon doing this he then started channel his wind affinity into the Rasengan and then manipulated the wind chakra inside the Rasengan to form his futon, Rasen Shuriken wind style, spiraling shuriken, where it gave off a loud bell-like screech after being formed. With the observing group, that jutsu, said Suand in shock, knowing what Naruto must have done. I don't believe, said an amazed Kakashi. He's done it, he's actually done it, he's surpassed Minato and me, said Jiraiya in complete astonishment. Ero Sennin, what's going on? And what is that jutsu that Nissan doing? It looks like the Rasengan, but different. And what do you mean he surpassed you and the Yondaime? Asked Konohamaru, which was what everyone else were wondering as well. Expect for the new Kumo group. At this, Jiraiya turned slightly to Konoha group and the others, while at the same time still staring at Naruto. As you all know, back when the Yondaime was alive, he created two techniques that he became famous for using and became his signature moves. The first was the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, and the other was the Rasengan, which is an A-rank technique. The technique involves gathering chakra in a hand and then using shape transformation to shape and form it into a spiraling sphere in the user's hand, where although it's simple, it's extremely hard to learn and difficult to master, and said Jiraiya, but was then interrupted by Konohamaru. We know all that, Ero Sennin, get to the point, said Konohamaru as he knew all this, after Jiraiya taught him how to do the Rasengan. I'm getting to it, brat, so hold your horses, rounded Jiraiya, where he continued, now as I was saying, when the Rasengan is fully formed. The compacted nature and moving speed of the chakra allows the Rasengan to grind into whatever it comes in contact with to inflict major damage, making it into a powerful jutsu, as there are few things that can withstand a direct assault of a Rasengan. But as powerful as the Rasengan is, it is still an incomplete jutsu, said Jiraiya, surprising most of the group. But Jiraiya-sama, how can that be? Asked Sakura, as she had seen Jiraiya, Konohamaru, Kakashi and Naruto before he was banished from the village use the jutsu on several occasions in battle. As it was indeed an extremely powerful jutsu, which was why she found it hard to accept that the Rasengan was an incomplete jutsu. As I said, the Rasengan was created by the use of shape transformation. The Yondaime had wanted to take the shape transformation of his chakra to the highest possible point and then combine it with his chakra's nature affinity, creating a jutsu that did not need the aid of time-consuming hand seals to control. Turning the jutsu from an A-rank technique to an S-rank technique, but the task proved more difficult than the Yondaime thought and he died before he had a chance to complete it, although by the looks of it, the kid did it. Am I right, Zhuge-Liang? Spoke Jiraiya, where he turned to Zhuge-Liang. You are correct, Jiraiya-san, as the Raikage did indeed succeed in adding his affinity into the Rasengan to form this jutsu. The jutsu itself I called Futon, Rasen Shuriken, answered Zhuge-Liang. At this, Kakashi nodded and decided to add in his own bit, Naruto has also surpassed me as well as I tired to do it myself, after I had mastered the Rasengan. But it proved too difficult for me to complete either, although despite my failure in it I was able to learn from it and use the knowledge to create my Chidori and Raikiri, said Kakashi. Also it seems that Naruto went a step even further, he must have manipulated the wind chakra he channeled into the Rasengan and expanded it to form those 4 large points, so there's no telling how powerful that jutsu is, stated Jiraiya as he focused on what Naruto was going to do next with the jutsu. Oh, we know, spoke Yugito, causing everyone to turn to her. I won't go into details, but I will tell you it was strong enough to defeat Kakazu when he and his partner hid and tried to capture me, where when Naruto used it on him he was able to kill 2 of Kakazu's hearts and mortally wound the 3rd in one go. Upon hearing this, all the non-new Kumo in the group were stunned at hearing that Naruto had created a jutsu like that, and did what the Yondaime Hokage failed to do. With Naruto as the Doton, Mega Iwiryu came towards him. Naruto prepared to use his Futon, Rasen Shuriken, and jumped into the air to meet the Earth Dragon head-on and brought his Rasen Shuriken forwards to meet the Earth Dragon. As soon as Naruto's Rasen Shuriken clashed with the Earth Dragon, it went right through the massive Earth Dragon and tore it into pieces, using his momentum from jumping forward to meet the Earth Dragon. Naruto pushed forward, ripping the Earth Dragon apart, and charged right at Ryoku, who could not believe that his attack was being destroyed so easily by Naruto's. Impossible. What is that jutsu? Cried Ryoku in disbelief. To answer Ryoku's question, Naruto cried out, Futon, Rasen Shuriken, just as he was about to hit Ryoku, who quickly used his Iwa no Yoroi to try and protect himself. As soon as Naruto's attack hit him, his Rasen Shuriken it utterly shattered Ryoku's Iwa no Yoroi, who was then sent forward and pushed Ryoku back several feet away from Naruto, who quickly channeled his chakra to his feet in to keep himself from being blown away by the coming wind blast. For as soon as Ryoku was pushed away from Naruto, the Rasen Shuriken enveloped him, a vortex of wind blades. With the observing group as the group watched Naruto attack destroy the massive Earth Dragon, they watched with amazement as Naruto's attack hit Ryoku and created a sphere of wind blades. Kakashi and Sasuke both quickly revealed their Sharingans again to analyze the technique, for although they couldn't copy it, they could at least learn how it worked. But much to their shock and amazement, their Sharingans could not keep up with all of the attack's individual strikes. After which there was a massive explosion, when the attack expanded outward, where another large crater was formed with Ryoku floating in midair and being slashed up by thousands of tiny wind blades, before he then fell to the ground. TTTH that was, said Shizune could not say what she wanted as she was completely blown away by the power of Naruto Raisin Shuriken. Wow, was all that Kiba could say as his mouth was open wide enough to put his fist into it. Naruto-kun, muttered Hinata with disbelief. Holy cow, said Ino. Truly amazing, spoke a stunned Guy. Even with my Sharingan I couldn't count all the individual strikes, muttered a stunned Kakashi, which shocked everyone more so to hear that even the Sharingan couldn't keep up with the jutsu. What a jutsu, thought Kakashi with pure astonishment. You never cease to surprise me, brat, thought Jiraiya with a slight smile of pride from his godson. It's over now, even if Ryoku is somehow still alive, there's nothing he can do, as the wind blades of Naruto's Raisin Shuriken sever the nerve channels in the target's body, leaving the target unable to move after being struck. Also as well his shinobi career is over, spoke Zhuge Liang. What do you mean by that? Asked Tenten. When a person is hit by the Raisin Shuriken, the attack not only attacks the nerve channels in the target's body. It also attacks the chakra circulatory system of the target, said Zhuge Liang. Upon hearing this, Tsunade, Shizune, Sakura, Hinata and Ino gasped in shock at what Naruto's technique could do. As they knew due to their knowledge of the human body and their medical knowledge, that when the human chakra circulatory system is damaged, it cannot be repaired by any form of medical ninjutsu. Depending on how severe the damage is, the person may not be able to perform jutsu ever again, just as Zhuge Liang said. What a technique, thought Tsunade in complete and utter amazement. Naruto, thought Sasuke as he narrowed his eyes and glared angrily at him, while at the same time closed his fist tightly, where he began to make his hand bleed once again, as the more he watched this battle the farther away Naruto seemed to him in strength. Also watching the battle with disbelief and shock was Orochimaru, who had been hiding behind a building watching the battle, where he saw Naruto use the Raisin Shuriken. He could not help but be stunned at the power of the technique. How could that boy possess, let alone create, such a technique? I can't afford to underestimate him any longer, thought Orochimaru, as he planned what to do next. After the technique ended, Naruto started to slowly close and open his hand, using the Raisin Shuriken while still holding it was a double-edged sword for the user for all, although it was incredibly powerful and could do unparalleled damage to the opponent's body. The jutsu would also do damage to the user's arm as well, as it does limited amount of cellular damage to his arm. According to Ritsu, the Raisin Shuriken's attack acted like poison due to it attacking at the cellular level. It was because of this and the effect it had on the users, that the Zhuge Liang suggested labeling the Raisin Shuriken as an S-rank kinjutsu, which Naruto agreed to. This was why Naruto was the only one who could do the Raisin Shuriken while still holding it, thanks to his Shinju Kokai bloodline, as his bloodline could heal the damage done to his arm by the attack. But even still with his bloodline it would take a few minutes for his bloodline to heal the damage, as the damage was done at the cellular level. Down in the crater, Ryoku was still alive, but was covered in dirt, cuts, and his own blood and was unable to move his body due to Naruto's Raisin Shuriken. No, 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 I will not lose to him, not to him, muttered Ryoku over and over again, as he then began to hallucinations, images of Naruto and the Yondaime, standing side by side over him, both with the same arrogant smirks on their faces. Both looking exactly alike, except for the outfits and hairstyles, and both telling him he lost again to them, and that he would always lose to them and that he should stay where he was, under their feet and in the shadow of greater men like them. No, 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 NNNNNOOOOOO. I will never lose to you again, NAIMKAZE. Roared Ryoku as he scraped some of the grounds up with his hand, and somehow, despite the state of his body and by sheer willpower, he stood up. Where once again by sheer willpower leapt into the air and towards Naruto with his fist, for although he could not use jutsu anymore, he was determined to kill Naruto, even if it was the last thing he did and if he had to do it with his bare hands. At that moment Naruto had turned his back to the crater and was just about to walk away, until he heard Ryoku roar of rage and turned around slightly to see Ryoku somehow leaping into the air, still covered in blood, dirt and cuts, but with his fist raised and coming towards him. With the observing group, "Impossible," cried Fu in shock. "There's no way he should still be able to fight after being hit by the Raikage's Raisin Shuriken, let alone move. It's impossible," said Okatsu, with equally surprise, as like everyone in the group she was just as shocked to see Ryoku jump out of the crater as she was. Although Zhuge Liang just narrowed his eyes, and showed no signs of shock. "With Naruto, DDDIIIENAIMKAZE. Roared Ryoku as he neared Naruto, where due to wounded condition he was in, Ryoku had lost all sense of reality and saw Naruto as he father, thinking it was him. When Naruto saw Ryoku heading towards him, he just narrowed his eyes, and coldly said, "You really are a stubborn fool, Ryoku," before he quickly formed a Odama Rasengan Great Ball spiraling sphere in his left hand, and slammed it into Ryoku's stomach, causing the large man to spite out large amount of blood. After which sending him flying into the air and out of the cleared area. "With the Iwa forces, die Konoha scum," cried Berigu as he brought his Zanbato down on a Konoha nin he had wounded, but before he could several lightning-enhanced kunai flew at him, forcing him to jump away from the wounded Konoha nin he had been about to kill. When he landed back on the ground he saw a squad of storm nins and several new Kumo Jonins who now reinforced the numerical inferior Konoha and Suna shinobis in this area. Joined by some of his own shinobis, Berigu charged at the enemy shinobis and fought them in a fierce battle, but despite battling valiantly Berigu and his forces were losing and were being driven back, with heavily losses. As Berigu blocked a katana strike from a storm nin with his Zanbato, he saw something fly over them from behind the Konoha lines. Soon after he was joined by one of the Jonin squad commanders, who created an earth wall to separate Berigu from the storm nin he had been fighting. "Berigu senpai, we have found your father in the building that was just destroyed a few minutes ago, as seemingly he was blasted here by some jutsu, he's critically injured," spoke the Jonin. "What?" cried Berigu, disbelief. "Our medics are currently working frantically to stabilize him, but we need to get him back to Iwa as quickly as possible, as he will surely die if we don't," spoke the Jonin. Upon hearing this, Berigu gripped his sword handle tighter in rage and then slammed it into the ground, but before he could say anything, an Iwa Chunin suddenly appeared to his other side. "Berigu senpai, our line is broken and the new Kumo shinobi along with the Konoha defenders have joined up and driving our forces back on our right flank, and Kiri forces have retreated and a third of the Konoha, Suna and new Kumo forces from that front are pushing our forces back and are threatening to outflank us on our left flank as well. You need to call a retreat before any chance of escape becomes impossible and our forces are slaughtered," said the Chunin. At hearing this, Berigu roared out in rage, "Damn it." Upon shouting this, the earth wall that the Jonin created earlier to separate them from the storm nins blew up, where 5 storm nins appeared and charged at them. Deciding to make a quick retreat, Berigu and the 2 Iwa nins shunshed away to a new location. Upon appearing in a safe location, Berigu came to a decision and ordered the 2 to radio out to all remaining forces to retreat. The 2 Iwa nins quickly nodded and began to radio the army to retreat. As Berigu watched his remaining forces begin to retreat, he gripped the handle of his Zanbato tightly once again in rage, at having to order a retreat. Just when victory was in the grasp, it slipped away from them, thanks to the interference of new Kumo and the Raikage. It was in that moment that Berigu swore he would make both new Kumo and the Raikage pay for this defeat, after which Berigu turned around and joined his remaining forces in their retreat out of Konoha and Hai no Kuni, Fire Country, and back to the Iwa. With Ryoku being dealt with, Naruto was about to go and search for Orochimaru and Shiro and deal with them, but before he even could, he suddenly saw Orochimaru appear a distance away from him, where he then quickly made a cage bunshin of himself. After which both Orochimaru and his clone bit their own thumbs and spread blood on their summoning seals and cried Kuchio's no Jutsu. Upon which Orochimaru summoned the snake boss Manda and was standing on his head, while his clone summoned 6 giant snakes, after which it puffed away. At the same time as well, Naruto saw another large puff of smoke appear coming from the now water-filled crater that was in the center of the clear area that he created when he had powered up earlier. The crater had been filled with the water of Shiro's Bakusui Shoha attack earlier. When Naruto turned to the water-filled crater, he saw a giant black sea serpent standing in the water with Shiro standing on top of its head. 7. HMPH, guess it time to up the ante a bit, muttered Naruto, as he then rolled up both his sleeves revealing 2 summoning tattoos, one on each wrist. 8. Once he rolled up his sleeves, Naruto bit both his thumbs and made them bleed a bit and spread some blood on his summoning tattoos, after which he then slammed his hands onto the ground and cried out, Kuchio's no jutsu. After which two massive puffs of smoke appeared. The first was a large orange toad, with markings, a dark sleeveless vest with the kanji toad on it and a large dosu blade on it back. The toad was about the same size of Gamabunta and the other great battle toad, although was younger than they were. This toad name was Gamakichi, a long-time friend of Naruto. The second puff of smoke was a massive white tiger with green strips on it and had golden-like armor on it. This summons was the boss of the tiger summons and was named Byakko. Naruto had acquired the summoning contract when he came into Kaminari no Kuni, Lightning Country. When he acquired the summoning contract and became its summoner, he had trouble getting both Byakko and Gamabunta to be willing to work together and agree to allow him to summon either them or their tribe members, but eventually he got to them agree, where both summoning tribes learned actually respect one another. With the observing group, what the hell is going on here? Naruto shouldn't be able to summon Gamakichi, his contract expired with the toads, said a shocked Jiraiya. And when did he get that overgrown cat, said Kiba, as he did really like cats considering his clan's link with dogs. Zhuge-Liang, what is the meaning of this? Asked Tsunade as she and the other turned to a smirking Zhuge-Liang and the other new Kumo shinobis. You forget, Jiraiya-san, the key thing to a shinobi is deception, replied Zhuge-Liang with a knowing smirk. And what's that supposed to mean? Said annoyed Jiraiya as he wasn't in the mood for one of Zhuge-Liang's games. Still smirking, Zhuge-Liang spoke again. Tell me, Jiraiya-san, how do you know that Naruto contract expired with the toads? My old teacher, the elder toad Fukasaku, told me when I asked him if Naruto's was alive or dead, when we found his bloody jacket, replied Jiraiya. Yet here he is alive and well and is still able to summon the toads, said Zhuge-Liang. Are you saying the toads lied to me? Impossible, they would never deliberately lie to me about something like that, said Jiraiya, as he refused to believe that Fukasaku lied to him and there had to be some explanation. Then tell me, why can the Raikage summon the toads, when they said he was dead and his contract with them expired? Also tell me, why is it that you did not try reverse summoning Naruto to find him after he was banished? Also as well, why is it that the toad, that Naruto summoned, does not seem surprised to see the Raikage and that he summoned him? Spoke Zhuge-Liang. At this Jiraiya had no answer to, as it didn't make any sense to him, as Fukasaku had told him himself that Naruto's connection with the toads was gone, meaning that he was dead. Also when he first found out about Naruto's banishment and try and find him and asked Fukasaku to locate Naruto for him and reverse summon him, Fukasaku said they could not, saying that something kept them from doing so. Not only that, but just as Zhuge-Liang said, Gamakichi didn't look the least bit surprised at seeing Naruto, whereas he saw them talking together. Gamakichi was acting like as if he and Naruto had only spoke recently, instead of years. It was then that Jiraiya knew that something was up and that for some reason the toads had lied to him about Naruto being dead and being unable to find him. It was also then that he decided that when this battle was over and everything had been sorted out, he was going to confront his old teachers and demand some answers from them. As Jiraiya was planning on what to say when he confronted the toads about Naruto's death, Yugito turned to Kiba and answered his question. Naruto found the tiger summons about 3 years, during the civil war in Kaminari no Kuni, at the same time that he found the sword of Tengu, spoke Yugito, after which a sinister-like smirk appeared on face. Also, if I were you, dog boy, I wouldn't insult Byakko or any of the tiger summons, as not only are they very powerful fighters, they are also a very proud summons. As they don't take insults very well, as they would chew you up and spit you out like a bad hairball, finished Yugito and smiled slightly at seeing the nervous look appear on Kiba's face. With Naruto and the others, yo Naruto, been a while, glad to see ya, I didn't think I'd be getting involved in this battle with Pops and the others in it, said Gamakichi as he looked up at Naruto who was on Byakko head. Yeah Gamakichi, hope you don't mind me summoning you instead of your dad or the others, spoke Naruto. Nah, I don't mind, besides, it just as well you summoned me as Pops and the others are pretty tired after fighting for most of the day against those snake summons. That's why they went back home after they saw you fighting the bear boss Onokuma, and Gamatatsu has ate too much again and has a sick stomach so he can't fight today, said Gamakichi. Okay then, replied Naruto. Naruto, why have you summoned me as well? It better be for fighting a strong opponent or for a good reason, as you know how I feel about fighting weaklings and pointless battles, spoke the tiger boss Byakko. Don't worry Bayako, this battle is far from pointless. We're facing Orochimaru and Shiro the Mizukage of Kirigakure, who are both guilty of countless crimes against countless people including their own people, as you well know. They are also the last of the leaders of the coalition that I told you about who plan on attacking the Heavenly Alliance later on. Not only that, but you and Gamakichi get to face their boss summons as well, spoke Naruto. At this Bayako gave a toothed grin, which would make most people nervous, as it made him seem more frightening. Well then if you put it like that then, this may actually be an enjoyable battle. I thought you would agree, replied Naruto with a smirk. Hey Naruto, Bayako if you don't mind I call Manda, as it's about time that I setting the score with him and my family, spoke Gamakichi as he narrowed his eyes at Manda. Fine by me, as I'll take Akuchi the sea serpent boss, as I prefer sushi to snake meat anyhow, said Bayako as he licked his lips slightly. Leftovers, are fine by me boys, said Naruto as he drew out the Raijin and activating it and stared at the 6 other giant snake summons that Orochimaru's clone summoned. Upon activating it the yellow lightning bolt-shaped blade appeared, which of course surprised Tsuin slightly at her great-uncle's blade new shape. Even though she had heard about it from Kakashi's and the others' report from Nami no Kuni, it was still surprising to see it. At the same time that Naruto was talking with his summons Bayako and Gamakichi, Orochimaru was speaking to Manda. Orochimaru whyyyyyyyy have you summoned me ha, hissed the snake summoned boss angrily. Manda I need you help in defeat a powerful enemy, the Raikage of New Kumogakure, spoke Orochimaru. You have SSSS summoned me, for that, said Manda, with a frown, you have grown weak, Orochimaru if you cannot defeat someone like that, I should just devour you myself for being so weak, he replied as he looked at Naruto who was sitting on Bayako's head. Don't underestimate him Manda, that boy is the Yondaime Hokage's son and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko and is far more powerful than he appears, warned Orochimaru. Regardless of who SSS son he is and www what he is I will devour him along with that worthless toad and overgrown cat, after which I will expect 100 sacrifices from you, said Manda. At the same time as well Shiro was speaking with his summons. Shiro, why have you summoned me, asked Akuchi. Akuchi, I'm facing the Rokudaime Raikage and his summons and I need you strength to help me finally kill him, spoke Akuchi. So that is the infamous Arashi no Oni, demon of storms, that has caused you so much trouble. Very well then I will help you kill him, replied Akuchi, where as soon as he said this they heard a large snarling roar coming from Bayako, who charged forward at him, while Gamakichi leapt into the air towards Manda and Orochimaru. While Naruto rubbed some more blood on a storage seal tattoo he had underneath his wrist where he summoned a large scroll and unveiled it where he then cried out, Gyaku Kuchio's no Jutsu, reverse summoning technique. After which a shadow clone of Naruto in a meditative stance appeared and quickly disappeared much to the confusion of those watching. After the clone puffed away Naruto then charged forward at the 6 other giant snake summons. Within a few seconds Naruto quickly traveled the distance between him and the 6 giant snake summons, 2 of which were charging at him as well. As he neared them he quickly formed his futon, Raisin Shuriken in his free hand and then threw it, much to the utter shock of everyone watching. With the observing group, he threw it, cried Tsunade in shock. Impossible. How can he throw chakra with that kind of high rotation and destiny? Cried Jiraiya with disbelief as he didn't think something like that was possible. As Zhuge and the other new Kumo nins watched this, they could not help but all have knowing smirks on their faces. It's a good thing that you sent a clone to Mount Myoboku before we arrived here Naruto, in the event that you might need to use your Toad Sage mode. As without the natural energy you would have not have been able to use the long-range version of the Raisin Shuriken, thought Zhuge Liang. The group continued to watch Raisin Shuriken fly towards the giant snakes and in between them as they moved towards Naruto. After which the Raisin Shuriken expanded where it sliced the giant snakes in half, and then sucked in the rest of their bodies where another wind sphere was created, upon which there was a massive explosion. When the explosion ended, both the snakes' bodies were completely vaporized. It vaporized them, said a gapping Konohamaru, who couldn't believe the power that this version of the Raisin Shuriken had. Incredible, said Jiraiya, as it was obvious that Naruto had indeed surpassed Minato and him. It's not possible, thought Orochimaru atop Manda's head, who was battling Gamakichi, and saw what Naruto had done to 2 of the snakes he had summoned. How could he have thrown a jutsu like that the way he did? And how can simply throwing it increase that jutsu's power that much? How does that wretched brat keep doing these things? Thought Orochimaru as what he saw didn't make any sense to him. With Naruto after dealing with the first two snakes, the next two appeared from underneath the ground. Naruto quickly jumped away and avoided being eaten by one of the giant snakes, as it opened its mouth as it came out of the ground. But as soon as he landed on the ground, the second giant snake came at him with its mouth open and tried to eat him. Quickly Naruto used his Tsururai Thunder Slash 9 and sent a slashing blade of energy and cut the giant snake in half right down the middle, while its mouth was still open. After being cut in half, the two halves of the giant snake went right past Naruto on either side of him, where when they landed on the ground several feet away from behind Naruto, the two halves puffed away. After the third snake was dead, the fourth then tried once again to eat Naruto whole, by striking down at him, but Naruto quickly jumped into the air again and landed on its head, when the snake mouth hit the ground. After which Naruto then stabbed down on the snake head with the Raijin, where he then channeled a massive amount of the Raijin's energy into the ship, along with a large amount of his own lightning chakra with it, and caused a massive amount of lightning to run through the giant snake's body and caused it to explode, covering Naruto in the snake blood, which thankfully puffed away along with the remainder of the giant snake body. With the second pair of giant snakes dead, the finally two charged at Naruto. Seeing this, Naruto decided to finish them both with one jutsu, where Naruto then deactivated the Raijin and placed it back on his utility belt. After which he began to form Rasengan on each of his fingertips, once again shocking the group, especially Konohamaru, Jiraiya and Kakashi, as they didn't think something like that was even possible, as the control let alone the concentration to do something like that would be unreal. Soon enough 10 small Rasengans were formed, with one on each fingertip. As the giant snakes came closer, Naruto then thrust both his open hands forward and cried out, Rasengan Sujiden, spinning sphere string shot. Why? After which the 10 small Rasengans shot out of his fingertips, but remained connected to Naruto, by chakra strings, where after being thrown the 10 Rasengans grew into the size of Odama Rasengans. Naruto then used the chakra strings that connected him to the Odama Rasengans and controlled the directions, where they hit the giant snake's head on, causing another large explosion, after which when the smoke cleared the snake's dead bodies fell to the ground and the puffed away. With the observing group, wow. What was that? Asked Konohamaru in surprise. That was the Raikage's Rasengan Sujiden, whereas you can see it involved creating Rasengans on his fingertips and firing them, and controlling the direction with chakra strings, and as you saw it quite a powerful technique, spoke Okatsu. Upon hearing this, Konohamaru could not help but be amazed at all the different ways Naruto had created to use the Rasengan, and even wondered if he could get Naruto to teach him that version later on. Why didn't I ever think of doing something like that? Thought Jiraiya, although he would only be able to use it with just a single Rasengan in each hand. I still think he should have called it the Rasengan Yo-Yo, stated Killer Bee, where Yugito just shook her head in annoyance, as she wasn't going to dignify that with a response. Damn it, why do I keep losing to him? Thought Sasuke as he gripped both his hands tightly, as he saw Naruto single-handedly defeat the bear boss summons Onokuma and now 6 giant snake summons, without having to summon something of equal size or strength as them, and what more, Naruto defeated them in ways that he could never hope to do, which infuriated him all the more. Why? Why is he so much stronger? And why am I always so inferior? Thought the furious Uchiha heir, as his blood was beginning to boil, due to how angry he was right now. With Naruto after killing the last of the giant snakes, Naruto then deactivated his Sage mode, as he no longer needed it. He also didn't want to risk using it for too long and run out of Sage chakra, leaving his body weakened. After doing so, he used his Raipo to the water-filled crater, where Shiro and his summons Akuchi were battling with Byakko, who despite battling in the water, which gave Akuchi the field advantage, Byakko was still able to battle with Akuchi in the water-filled crater as an equal, proving that the chief of the Tiger Summons was a powerful summons. Currently Akuchi had its long body around Byakko, but yet couldn't restrain the large Tiger Summons, as Byakko clawed and bit at whatever body part he could that belonged to Akuchi. It was in this point that Akuchi and Shiro both fired high-pressure water attacks at Byakko. Seeing this, Byakko quickly used his Tekuki, Steel Iron Fur Z, where Byakko channeled his chakra into his fur coat to make it hard as steel, allowing him to withstand the high-pressure water attacks. When the attacks ended, Byakko released his defensive jutsu, upon which Akuchi then went forward, with his mouth wide open ready to bite Byakko with his sharp teeth. Seeing this, Byakko prepared to fight back, as he was about to raise his claws and slash out Raikuchi, but before he could, a blue flash appeared and hit Raikuchi in the side of the head, causing it to reel back. After the hit, the blue flash revealed itself to be Naruto, who was now standing on Byaku's head. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" asked Byaku, as he looked up at Naruto on his head. "Well, I finished my fight with those snakes, and when I saw you hadn't dealt with Raikuchi yet, I decided to give you a hand," replied Naruto friendly-like. "I don't need your help, as I can handle him by myself," replied the giant white tiger chief. "I sure you can, but Raikuchi has Shiro and I think it's only fair that I be with you. Besides, summoners are supposed to work and fight alongside their summons, so it's only right that I be with you when you fight those two," answered Naruto. "Fine then, just don't get my way," said Byaku, although he had a light smirk, as although he wouldn't admit it, he did appreciated Naruto's support. "So you're the Raikage of New Kumogaku I heard about," spoke Raikuchi as he looked at Naruto. "You will pay from that hit you gave me and I will enjoy eating you." "Just try," replied Naruto. "Let get them, Byaku," where Byaku just nodded and let out another fierce roar. For a few minutes the two boss summons continue their fierce battle with one another in the water-filled crater, biting and scratching at each other, with their respected summoners firing jutsu at one another or each other summons, hoping to give themselves the advantage in the battle. As the battle went on, Raikuchi was able to finally wrap his body around Byaku, where he then began to squeeze him. "Byaku, time to give Raikuchi a little shock," said Naruto. "Right," cried Byaku, where he then began to convert his chakra in lightning and cried out, "Seidenki, static shock." Ah! When Byaku released the lightning he created, Raikuchi was forced to let go of Byaku, where he then screamed in pain of being electrocuted, as the lightning was only enhanced thanks to the water. Shiro, of course, was able to avoid this fate by jumping up into the air at the very last second. "Now's your chance, Byaku, take him out," cried Naruto, seeing that Raikuchi was helpless after the lightning attack ended. "Koso, Tiger Claw, BB," cried Byaku, where he raised his right claws and he channeled chakra into them, and making them glow white, where he used his claws to cut Raikuchi's head off with a single swipe, which then fell into the water and was followed by his body, which still wriggled a bit. "You can handle things from here, Naruto," spoke Byaku. "Right, thanks for your help, Byaku," replied Naruto, where the tiger boss just nodded, and before he puffed away with Raikuchi's body, he turned to Naruto again. "And try not to get yourself killed," grunted the large tiger, where Naruto smirked as said he won't, after which the tiger summon puffed away to enjoy his meal. Although as soon as Byaku left, several spinning fangs appeared on the water around him and launched at him all at once on all sides. Seeing this, Naruto did 3 quicken seals and cried, "Suten, Suijinheki, water style, water encampment wall." As soon as the attack ended, Naruto let the water wall around him down, although as soon as he was stabbed with a kunai in the neck by Shiro, who appeared suddenly in front of him. But before Shiro could even smirk in killing the Raikage, Naruto turned into water, revealing that Naruto had somehow replaced himself with a Mizu Bunshin he had created when inside the water wall. As soon as Shiro realized this, he frowned with annoyance, as not only had his Suten, Suigarden, water style, water fang bullet failed, but his surprise attack as well. Upon destroying the Mizu Bunshin, he saw some shadowy figures coming out of the water, but before he could do anything he saw 4 Narutos bust out of the water on all sides and punch him into the air. Upon which the real Naruto appeared above Shiro and slams his heel into Shirio's chest while shouting out, "Uzumaki Naruto Renden, Uzumaki Naruto combo," and sent Shiro flying into the water below and crashing into it. After landing gently back on the water's surface below, Naruto dispelled his clones, upon which the water below him began to recede, where a gigantic wave appeared in front of him, and was far larger than any water attack he's seen before. Once the wave was formed, Shiro appeared on top of it and finishing doing hand seals and shouted out, "Prepare yourself, Raikage, you're about to face my strongest attack, Suten, Dai Tsunami Suiuge, water style, giant tsunami water whale. CC." Upon which a giant whale made out of water appeared, followed by the rest of the giant wave of water and Shiro. As the massive water attack came at him, Naruto narrowed his eyes and then did a single hand seal and cried out, "Suten, Dai Suheki, water style, giant water wall." DD, after which a giant wall of water burst out of the ground in front of Naruto, where it quickly grew to the size of Shiro's attack. Within seconds of being summoned, the two water justus collided with one another, and despite nearly giving in to the strain of Shiro's attack, the giant water wall held, where Shiro's Dai Tsunami Suiugeiken placed on itself and onto Shiro, who couldn't believe his attack was beaten. With Shiro's attack stopped the giant water wall Coldspade as well, falling on top of an already drenched Shiro, while Naruto shunshed away, before the water could collapse on him as well. After a minute or so Shiro appeared above water again, panting heavily for breath. He started to lift himself up onto the surface of the water, by channeling his chakra to his hands and feet to him lift himself out of the water. As he did, he started to look around for Naruto to see where he was, in case he tried to attack him in his vulnerable state. Looking for me? Spoke Naruto from above Shiro, who was just 1/3 out of the way out of the water, when Naruto said this, where he then looked up to see Naruto holding the sword of Tengu in his hand with lightning around its blade. This is the end for your Shiro, along with your bloody tyrannical reign as the Mizukage of Kirigakure, as it is time for you to pay for your crimes, as well as your insult to Tengu, said Naruto. As he raised Tengu over his head and cried, "Cry Tengu," and slashed his katana downward and sent a powerful blast of lightning due towards Shiro, who tried to get out of the water and avoid the attack, but the lightning blast came down too fast for Shiro to fully get out of the water as the lightning blast hit it, where Shiro was electrocuted by the lightning-enhanced water. Shiro's screams of pain and agony could be clearly heard by all around, where after a minute or two it ended, where all that was left of Shiro was his electrified burnt corpse floating above the water. With Shiro now dead, Naruto then resheathed Tengu back on his sheath on his back, where he then disappeared once again in a blue flash to deal with Orochimaru, the last of the coalition leaders. Currently fighting with Orochimaru and Manda, was Gamakichi, as he was engaged in a fierce fight with him. Gamakichi fired a Kaiten, Enden, fire style, flame bullet, at Manda, who was able to avoid the flame bullet, where he then went forward and tried bite Gamakichi with his poisoned fangs. Luckily though Gamakik was able to jump away and avoid it, where he then drew his dosu from his back and tied to cut Manda head off with his Gamadosus and Toad sword beheading. Unfortunately Manda was able to avoid it by going underground, and before Gamakichi could do anything, Manda then burst out of the ground underneath Gamakichi and wrapped himself around the young large toad. Gamakichi tried to resist Manda, where he tried to struggle out of Manda's bind but Orochimaru interfered with that by spitting out a poison shot into Gamakichi's eyes blinding him. "Now I'm going to squeeze you until you burst, like the wart that you are," hissed Manda as he started to squeeze Gamakik more and more. But just as it looked like Gamakichi was finished, a sudden massive blast of lightning hit Manda square in the face, causing a large burn mark on his face, making the giant snake boss hiss in pain and loosening his grip of Gamakiki, who quickly took his chance and get out of Manda's hold, jumped away a bit and gained some distance from them. "WWWH, who did that?" hissed Manda angrily. "That would be me," said Naruto as he appeared on top of Gamakichi's head, where he then used the Suten, Sushi no Jutsu, water style, water drowning technique, to spit out a large amount of water into Gamakichi's eyes and wash away the poison and allow him to see. "Thanks Naruto, I own you one," spoke the grateful Toad Chief's son. "No prob Gamakiki, what are friends for," replied Naruto. "SSS, so you're the Raikage and the Yondaime Hokage's SS son. I remember you," hissed Manda angrily as he remembered seeing him when Naruto was a younger, and he battled Gamabunta and Katsuyu 10 years ago. "I will devour you, for what you did to me." "We see about that," replied Naruto, where he then told Gamakiki it was time for a little combination attack, where Gamakichi fired a Gamauden Toad oil bullet while Naruto fired a lightning attack, whereby using the oil as an accelerant, the lightning ignited the oil bullet into a flamethrower-like effect, thereby creating Kaiten, Gamayu Enden, fire style, Toad oil flame bullet. The massive flamethrower-like stream flew towards Manda and it hit the snake boss dead on. But just as the flames died they saw only his skin, revealing that Manda and Orochimaru had avoided the hit. As soon as they realized this, Manda once again appeared from the ground underneath Gamakichi and tried to sink his fangs into Gamakichi's neck. Fortunately though, Naruto prevented this by jumping forward and using his Raikage to enhance his punching power. He delivered a powerful punch to the snake's boss's face, causing Manda to reel back from the punch in pain. Upon Naruto doing this, Gamakichi once again jumped back to gain some distance from Manda. After Naruto had punched Manda in the face, Orochimaru had appeared in front of him with the sword of Kusanagi and tried to stab him with it. Luckily though, Naruto avoided the hit by ducking under the stab, where he then quickly formed a Rasengan in his right hand and slammed it into Orochimaru's gut, sending the snake Sanin flying off Manda. With Orochimaru dealt with, Naruto then quickly placed the palm of his hands on Manda's head and converted a large amount of chakra into lightning and channeled it into Manda's body, thereby covering and filling the snake boss's body with lightning and electrocuting him from the inside and out. "Now's your chance, Gamakichi," cried Naruto as he electrocuted Manda, who was crying in pain of Naruto's attack and couldn't move. "Right," cried Gamakichi as he charged forward with his dosu and used his Gamadosuzan and cut the great snake boss's head off, who before his head was cut off cried out, "CCCC Kuosi Ual." Upon Manda's head being cut off by Gamakichi, Naruto quickly jumped off it and landed on Gamakichi's head, after which they watched Manda's head fall to the ground along with his body, which wriggled for a few minutes. With Manda dead, Gamakichi then sheathed his dosu and then went and picked up Manda's body. "Do you need me to hang around here and give you a hand, Naruto?" asked Gamakichi. "Nah, I can handle the rest here myself, thanks Gamakichi," said Naruto. "Okay then, I see you later. I'm sure Pop's going to love the wallet when I show it to him and tell him that it made from Manda's hide. I might even have enough spare for one from Gramps along with purses from Mom and Grandma as well. See you around, Naruto," said Gamakichi as he puffed away with Manda's body, while Manda's head puffed back from whence he came. After Gamakichi left, Naruto then gracefully landed back on the ground where he then walked over to a furious Orochimaru, who had just finished shedding himself after the damage he suffered from Naruto's attack. Not only had his plans for destroying Konoha been ruined, but his allies were all dead, along with his strongest summons, and he now had to face Naruto alone, where his chances of victory as well as survival were slim to none right now. With the observing group, "All right, Naruto. He's got this in the bag now," cried Kiba. "He's incredible," said Ino. "Indeed, the Raikage is truly amazing," said Sai. "I wouldn't be celebrating just yet if I were you," spoke Jiraiya seriously, as he narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean, Ero Sennin? Nissan's won, all that's left is that team. Orochimaru and Nissan can take him, as he took out all the others, and he's not even hurt or tired yet, so taking out Orochimaru should be a cinch for Nissan," spoke Konohamaru. "It's because, like you said, Naruto has Orochimaru cornered, and that is when he is at his most dangerous," stated the Toad Sage. "That is indeed true," spoke Zhuge Liang, "as an cornered animal is always a dangerous thing to face, as they will try anything to escape, meaning Orochimaru will try anything to either win or escape this situation." At hearing this, everyone paid close attention to see what happens next. With Naruto and Orochimaru, as Naruto slowly walked towards Orochimaru, the Snake Sannin was desperately trying to think up a way to get out of the situation he was in right now, as everything had gone utterly wrong. "Curse this brat, how could all my carefully laid plans have been ruined by him?" thought Orochimaru, as he knew that without the support of his allies he stood no chance against Naruto alone. Yet he still found it hard to believe that Naruto had been able to kill all his allies by himself. He simply could not believe Naruto had become this powerful. "There has to be a way from me to turn this around to my favor. I should have killed you when I had the chance," hissed Orochimaru, angrily cursing himself for not killing Naruto when he first met him in the Forest of Death, during the Chunin exam 10 years ago, to test Sasuke to see if he was a worthy candidate to be his next vessel. "Yes, you should have, but you didn't, and now you're going to die," said Naruto, as he stood in front of Orochimaru, where his hands began to generate lightning around it, showing that Naruto was preparing to use his Raikage. Orochimaru prepared himself as he had no intention of dying, as he was going to fight to the bitter end if he had to survive. But just as Naruto was about to attack, several smoke bombs exploded in front of him, followed by several kunais and shurikens, which Naruto was able to dodge easily enough and jump back a bit. When the smoke cleared, Kabuto was showed standing next to Orochimaru with 4 other Oto Jonins. "Orochimaru-sama, are you alright?" asked Kabuto as he turned to his master. "I'm fine, Kabuto, but what are you doing here?" "What of our forces?" said Orochimaru. "Kusa and the Hanya clan forces are in utter confusion, where they began to retreat, but were cut off by the mountainside collapsing and blocking their escape route. Most don't know what to do and are surrendering, as they were surrounded by the new Kumo forces and Konoha defenders. The Iwa forces are retreating as they were being forced back with heavy losses, and they're threatened to be outflanked and surrounded by the Konoha defenders and the new Kumo forces. All of Kiri's forces have already fled or surrendered, and our own forces are being slaughtered, as the new Kumo forces have blocked the tunnels that the Snake summons made, and the Konoha defenders and the other new Kumo forces have surrounded them," answered Kabuto. What of Gurren, where is she? Asked Orochimaru, finding it strange that she was not with Kabuto. She has been captured by the new Kumo forces, replied Kabuto, which surprised Orochimaru, as he didn't think there was anyone that could defeat and capture Gurren, with the except of himself and a few select others. Well, Kabuto team, so good to see you again. I was sort of hoping that Mitsuhide would fail to capture or eliminate you, as now I have the pleasure of beating the crap out of you myself, spoke the young blonde-haired Raikage. When Kabuto turned to face to look at his unmasked face, Kabuto was surprised to say the least. The Yondaime Hokage, BB, but how? He stuttered shock and disbelief. That isn't the Yondaime, it's QB Brat, as he's alive. As well as the Rokudaime Raikage and is the Yondaime's son, said Orochimaru angrily. At hearing this, Kabuto eyes widen even wider in shock, not expecting this in his wildest dreams. Why yo you? Stated the stunned Kabuto. Long time no see Kabuto team, sneered Naruto, enjoying the look of shock on Kabuto's usually cocky face. What's wrong, not happy to see me? Taunted Naruto. After a few moments, Kabuto regained himself and greeted Naruto with his usually cocky smirk. Well, Naruto-kun, I must say you truly are the most surprising and unpredictable shinobi that has ever lived, as I would never have expected you of all people with a Raikage, especially since I thought you were dead. Well, you know me, Kabuto team, I never stay down of long, sneered Naruto. Indeed, and who would have thought you were the son of the Yondaime Hokage? I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree after all, although it isn't exactly Hokage now, is it? Said Kabuto, adding in his own little jab. Hoping to hit Naruto in sore spot at how his original dream was ruined, when he was banished from Konoha. Naruto of course narrowed his eyes upon Kabuto, comparing him to his father, but he didn't care about Kabuto's little jab at being the Rokudaime Raikage instead of the Rokudaime Hokage like he had originally intended to be. No, you're right, it's not Hokage, it's better than Hokage, taunted Naruto back. At this, Kabuto narrowed his eyes slightly, seeing that his little cheap shot at Naruto had failed. At the same time, Orochimaru was trying to devise a way to salvage the situation, as the invasion was now obviously a flop. But he wasn't going to leave without some kind of consolation, like killing Naruto and making him pay for ruining all his plans. Blast it all, there has to be a way to salvage situation and turn it into my favor, thought Orochimaru, as right now even with Kabuto he stood not chance of winning. The 4 men that Kabuto had brought were basically useless to him, as they wouldn't be able to help him beat Naruto, where at best they would good enough as cannon fodder. Upon thinking this, an idea sudden sprung into Orochimaru's mind at how to turn the tables on Naruto. Quickly Orochimaru did a few dozen quick hand seals and slammed his hands onto ground, after which the ground beneath the 4 Otojonins began, draw them in like quicksand. WWWH, what's going on? Cried one of the Oto Nin. Oh, Orochimaru-sama, WWWH, hi, we're loyal, said another Oto Nin. Do not fret, gentlemen, your sacrifice will not go to waste, as you will be the key ingredient to something far greater than you, and your sacrifice will help me defeat the Raikage. Something that you cannot do in your current condition, said Orochimaru, with a cruel and uncaring smirk, as his men cried for help and mercy from him, right up until they sank beneath the ground. At seeing this, Naruto narrowed his eyes angrily at seeing how Orochimaru cared so little about his subordinate, even after they showed him so much devotion and loyalty, that he did not deserve to begin with. It made him sick to his stomach, as it went against everything that Naruto believed in, as the first duty of a leader was the well-being of his subordinates and the people under his care. Seeing this made Naruto all the more angry and disgusted at Orochimaru. After his men sank beneath the ground, Orochimaru then spoke, "Your power is indeed impressive, Naruto-kun, and it far exceeds even my own, but let's see how well you fare against this." Where he then did 6 quick hand seals and slammed his hands onto the ground and cried out, "Kuchios, Edo Tensei summoning, impure world resurrection." Upon doing this, 4 large coffins appeared from the ground together, the first one with the number 1, the second with number 2, the third with number 3 and the fourth with number 4. After which the 4 coffins opened up to reveal the Shodaime Hokage, the Nadaime Hokage, a young Sandaime Hokage and the Yondaime Hokage. With the observing group, upon seeing Orochimaru reviving all 4 of the pervious Hokages of Konoha, the confident looks of victory of the Konoha and Suna groups turned to looks of worry. Damn him! Cursed Jiraiya as he gripped his hands tightly in anger and nearly making them bleed. As he saw his sensei and his student being brought back by Orochimaru to be used as puppets for him, as this was not the way he had wanted to see them again. That bastard, hissed Tsunade angrily, as she could not blame Jiraiya for being so angry, as she too was furious at Orochimaru, at how he was bringing back her grandfather, great uncle and her sensei, to be used a pause against the village they loved and gave their lives for to protect. Kakashi was also of equal mind as Jiraiya and Tsunade, as he narrowed his eyes in anger at seeing how Orochimaru brought his sensei back to life, as a slave to do his bidding and to be used to kill his own son, his own flesh and blood. Kohameru was just as angry as the others, where he gripped his hands tightly in anger, at the fact that Orochimaru was using the very same jutsu he used to kill his grandfather against Naruto, and was now bringing back his grandfather and use him as a puppet for his own twisted schemes. Truly seeing the Kuchiyos, Edo Tensei being preformed in front of you is a sight to behold, a sight of disgust. It makes one wonder how someone as great and noble as the Nadaime Hokage would know or would use such a technique, muttered Zhu Liang with no small measure of disgust. As he had heard of the Kuchiyos, Edo Tensei, and how it worked and brought the souls of the selected people back from the dead to do the user's bidding as slaves and take away their free will. It especially disgusted him at how the jutsu relied on the user using living sacrifices, where to revive the dead soul temporarily. The user would have to use a living person life force and soul to power the jutsu and then place the soul that the user wanted to revive into the sacrifice's body, where it would be used as a vessel to house the temporarily revived soul. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others, it seems that once again we've been brought back to do the bidding of this one, spoke the Nadaime Hokage Senju Tobirama, as he turned to look at Orochimaru. Indeed, and it seems that war still plagues Konoha and it has only worsened over time, spoke the Shodaime Hokage, Senju Hashirama sadly. So Orochimaru, even after all this time, you still foolishly wish to destroy the leaf, said Sarutobi sadly, as he looked to his fallen student. Naturally, Sensei, but I've not summoned you here to destroy Konoha, despite how delicious the irony would be, to have Konoha's 4 greatest heroes and leaders destroy it. I've summoned you here to kill him, said Orochimaru with a smirk, as he indicated to the person who stood in front of them, and who the Yondaime Hokage had been silently staring at with widened eyes. Minato, BBBU ut how? Cried the revived younger Sandaime Hokage in surprise as he looked at the Yondaime next to him and at Minato, in front of him, who looked slightly different from Minato he knew and was next to him. It was in that moment then that Naruto spoke, "Hello, father." That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.